there'd be a piece of leather on the end of this, and he would bite down onto it, and then they would lift him up in the air, uh, way up in the air, and he would do his whole act hanging by his iron jaw. And then his daughter Chris uh, is the most famous hair hanging juggler of all time. So they would hook her hair into a similar apparatus and haul her up and she would do her act. Down bottom, we've got Gus and Ursula Loppe, famous German American jugglers. Ursula was the inspiration for Lottie to become a solo artist. And then we've got some clubs over here from clubs and ping pong balls from Tony Furkos. He's the world record holder for ping pong ball juggling with your mouth. Here we have Anthony Gatto stuff. I've got some of his awards. I've got his two famous poles that he would use in his act. It's funny when people come here, they often think that they never think it's going to be as big as that I have all this stuff. And then I've got the clubs that got to learn to juggle clubs with, the rings he learned to juggle rings with, different clubs from throughout his career, torch, various balls he used, and other rings. And lots of all of his IJA gold medals and some other, another trophy there. Down bottom, I have props from Albert Lucas and his brother David Lucas and Dick Franco. And then on the wall here, we've got mainly hoops and rings. But we've got hoops from Bob Bramson and Howard Nichols, the two greatest hoop jugglers of all time. And we've got rings from lots of different people. Ernest Montego, Patrick Elmert, Joe Taylor, Ivo Vita, Dana Tyson, Daniel Lysenko, Bobby Jewell, Gregory Popovich, lots of others. And more on the other side as well. Gaby Ballauer. And those are the 4 different sizes of hoops that Bob Bramson used. Yeah, those little rings are the rings that Thomas Dietz used to learn to juggle rings with as a child. How's it going? So here we move into like the vaudeville era. And I won't go into everybody here, but we got Bobby Jewell, who just turned 100. And can still juggle at the age of 100. And he created this wonderful club. You can see these rings. Right there's one of those rings. I've got his mouse stick here and other clubs he used. Foodie, the really well-known Hungarian juggler. Tommy Curtin, famous American juggler. As I said, I won't go into everybody here, but you can scan. A lot of these guys were vaudeville guys. Um, these might be some of the oldest clubs I have. We have a picture of those clubs from I think the 1880s. Bill Nat was a famous juggler for juggling dangerous things, and he was one of the earliest chainsaw jugglers. And he loved to do axes and sickles and knives. These are props from Benny Gorham, the first person to join the IJA after it was founded. Member number 1. We've got a club down there from Art Jennings, the founder of the IJA, in the corner. A club from Harry Lind, one of his personal swinging clubs from Harry Lind, the famous prop maker. This box and the props in it were all from the Juggling Jewels. 5 British women that started performing in 1918, and very well known juggling troupe. Another famous troupe, the Elgins. I've got a club and some hats from the Elgins. Juggling Gems were another famous two American sisters in the 50s and 60s that performed. We've got some Japanese juggling props from Moriichi Shinoi, the head of the Edo Daikagura juggling family in Japan. Nick Gatto, Barnaby, Edith Sander. And you'd wear this horn on your head and throw those rings up and catch them on the horn. The club on the left is from Stan Cavanaugh, very famous Australian juggler from the vaudeville era, and Joe Cook, who was one of the most famous American vaudevillians. He eventually became a radio star and then a movie star. These props are from the Mongadors. Mongadors started in 1900, and they were a famous French family of jugglers, and they invented lots of famous club passing things that we still do today, like knocking something out of someone's mouth while passing around them, and doing the leapfrog steal and things of that sort. And they use these giant clubs. We got some different shaker cups here. This was perhaps the first ever shaker cup designed specifically for juggling, and not just modified from a regular shaker cup. Props down there from the Juggling Jacksons, from the John Knights family here. We've got Eddie Carrello Sr. and Jr. here, the Swiss jugglers. Nino Frediani, these are props from him. He was he was legally blind his entire career. He had like a 60-year career as a performing juggler, legally blind the entire time. And so he had to have these brightly decorated props so you could see the glint of them. And then Topper Martin, famous Australian juggler. Here's some of his props. And then stuff from Paul Bachman and Ken Benge down there. We have 2 shelves here of some of the most famous juggling teams of all all time. We've got the Raspini brothers, the Wilmson brothers, Mad Five. Down here we have Raspini brothers, Air Jazz, Passing Zone, Double Trouble, Flaming Idiots, Clockwork, Wilmson brothers. This machete was passed around Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show. And we've got stuff from Bob Nickerson and Sean Blue and Martin Lamberti. Below that we have things from Mark Nizer and Andy Head. Here we have props from Jay Green, who was he's still alive. He invented lots of different juggling props, including what we consider the modern juggling club. This would be an example of one of those. So in 1964, he invented this. And what we mean by modern juggling club is it had a foam knob, a foam end cap, and a squeezable handle. So even though the shape is not what we exactly use today, the component parts are more or less the same. And then we've got props from Robert Nelson and Dan Berg, Michael Karras, Steve Langley, Sean McKinney. Well, this is something that's pretty neat. You probably want to see this if you can get it out of here without knocking anything over, maybe. So this looks like a mostly normal juggling club, but it can become a torch. That's really neat. That was a prototype that never made it into production. Then down there we have some clubs from Kit Summers and some coffee can cigar boxes from Laura Green. We have some props from Jatan and Steve Regatz and Steve Regatz and Jatan. Sorry. Yes. Here we have some things from Gina Schwartzman Christiani, Tom Wall, Aaron Stevens, Bruce Manners, Francoise Roche, Ashley Ellis, Jay Gilligan, Ty Tojo, Fusco Brothers, Christian Christoph, Constant, and then Eric O'Berry underneath that. And then lots of famous cigar box jugglers below that. And then up here we have a bunch of balls from lots of different people you can see, including Victor Key, David Furman, lots of others.